Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to try to go over some of the calculator buttons for writing the equation of a linear function given 2 points. So on the right hand side, you'll see the steps that I recapped during class. If you were in class on Friday, if you were virtual on Friday, I mentioned that I'd be providing this video. So this may be the first time that you're seeing this. And I am going to go over the example, obviously with my calculator then using a camera to record. Ideally, I would have this on my desktop. My trial did expire, so I am using a camera, not probably the best method of showing you guys this, but we're not in class, so trying to make the best out of this situation. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to use the example at the bottom. So I'm going to skip all the way down to the blue down there. And we know how to do this by hand, or hopefully we do, right? We were going to start by finding the slope, by making a table, finding the slope. We plug in one of the points for x and y, we solve for b, or we utilize our point slope formula, which also involves us finding the slope first. This is disregarding all of that. Obviously, we'll continue to practice with doing it algebraically. This is just typing into your calculator. So what I'm going to do first is press the stat button. Stat is located below delete. You're going to see a screen with a bunch of things going on. You just have to hit enter for edit. And now I wanted to go over this. Oftentimes when you're utilizing these are called lists. That's what the L is. So like list 1, list 2. Oftentimes there's a lot of numbers in there from something you were doing previously. This is basically the table part of your calculator where we enter data into a table. And oftentimes, obviously, we don't clean it up after. So what a lot of people do, they make mistakes here. They start deleting things, and then it deletes the entire list, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And then you ultimately have to almost like reset your calculator. Is usually the quickest way of fixing that. So what you're going to do instead is highlight the top, hit the clear button, not delete, but clear, and I'm right there. Ignore my finger. And it seemingly does nothing, but when you go down now, the entire column is gone. I'm going to do the same thing for L1. This is particularly useful when we get into stats and even other topics. We might be entering in like 10, 20, different values there. You don't have to delete them individually. You can do the whole column at a time. So what we're going to do now is treat L1 as like our X column. So I'm going to type in -6. It doesn't matter the order that I'm doing these. And then 12. And then I'm going to hit the right button to type in my Y values under L2, kind of like a standard XY table. And I do want to keep them in the same order. So that would be -19, enter, and 11. I like to take a second to verify that my table matches. I didn't mix up like the X and Y values. Okay, now I'm going to hit stat one more time. And I'm going to scroll to the right. Now under calculate, these are all the features that we use for different things with the table. We're going to select option 4. Anytime you have a screen with options like this, you can also just hit the number. So I could hit 4 on like the keypad, or I already highlighted it, so I'm just going to hit enter. Some people get a little confused here the first time. It's basically just like a verification screen. It's saying like, hey, did you treat L1 as your X values? Sometimes people might be using different lists or something like that. For our purposes, we're not really going to mess with that. So we're just going to kind of keep hitting enter here. I think I put 3 times, but I think it's 4 or 5 times. Just keep hitting enter. Now, your calculator is going to display an equation. Ignore R squared and R. That has to do with correlation, which we'll get into in stats. But it displays A and B. Now, I've never actually checked on this. I'm not sure why they don't call it M, because I get that question a lot. Like, hey, we call it mx plus b with slope intercept. Why does this now say ax plus b? But for our purposes, pretend it says m. The one downside, your calculator will only display decimals. It does not do fractions here. Okay, and obviously you have to write it as well. So you would have to write y equals 1.68. But we don't want to write that, right? And let's say we don't know what that is. It's pretty obviously 1 2/3. But we can type it in. And I just lost the equation, I realized. But I'll show you how we can make decimals into fractions. So I'm going to type it in. The 6 is obviously we're repeating here. If you hit math, enter, enter, you'll now see that it was 1 2/3 or 5/3. And I'm just going to bring it up again because I lost it. So we have y equals 5/3 x minus 9. y equals 5/3 x minus 9 would be our equation. So these are the steps for coming up with a linear function. This is also known as linear regression, if you're wondering what linreg stands for. Linear regression is the idea of creating a line through given values or given points. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this calculator tutorial was helpful, and we'll continue practicing